Hello and welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Tuesday, February 18th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, American's Wasp. And joined with me, as always, is StatPat Stateless Patriot, who is cheating on us because he's already live on his channel. So fuck him.
Yeah. Well, I told Megan 6:30, and so I stuck to it because she gives me shit if I end up starting late because she's a
Yeah, that's the least you can do for Megan.
pain
That's
in my
great.
ass. Yeah.
That's lovely that you guys have that relationship. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. That is just fantastic. So, dude, I have been a little disconnected these
I
last
envy
few
you.
days. I want you to kind of give me the lowdown on what's going on, other than because the only thing I've been hearing about is people actually responding. A lot of people have been reacting to the Hakeem Jeffries interview with Jon Stewart, which I watched when it first came out. I don't know why people are just, getting to that now. It was pretty obvious, like required reading to hear how the minority leader, the head of the party, basically is going to be talking about the party. And he's saying,
Yeah.
what leverage do we have? What leverage do we have? I mean, that was a soundbite moment right there.
Yeah.
And
God.
he's just such a loser. He's a
Mhm.
loser. I mean, that's what you got, Brooklyn. Come on, dude.
No
You're
kidding, dude.
Brooklyn, dude. You can do way better. That's tough. That's tough town USA right there.
Beyond
That's who you get. That's who you give us.
I mean, frustrating doesn't even begin to cut it, for crying out loud. I haven't seen the interview yet. I have been watching a lot of Jon Stewart. It's like one of the few things actually like keeping me sane. He's been pretty good so far. He needs to be. I think he needs to be a bit more aggressive, but I understand he doesn't want to like detour, I guess you could say, much from his classic style. Um, we just need more people meeting the moment, and I don't really see much of that fucking anywhere.
Well, people always overestimate the intelligence of these people, these public figures, because they're on camera and because they're educated and because you would think that they're very bright people.
Mhm.
Trust me, the powers that be do not want very intelligent people in these positions of power. Why?
Of course not.
Because the dumber you are, the more easily influenced you are.
Yep. Yeah, that's why he has so many. Like that's why Trump appointed so many unqualified, unfit, dumb fucking morons to head all these agencies because he knows that they'll not only do what he says, they'll fucking dismantle these agencies from within. They'll serve uh, the big money interests that want to
They'll do what they're
privatize.
told. They'll
Yeah,
do what they're told.
yeah, yeah, privatize a lot of these institutions and agencies for their own personal gain. It's a kakistocracy. It's it's all being rooted out in favor of private investment.
Yes, the for-profit motive rules all.
Hmm.
Rules all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
plutocratic fucking oligarchy.
but
Yeah.
I gotta say, I would encourage everyone to go check out that Hakeem Jeffries interview of Jon Stewart. Watch the whole thing
Hmm.
and just notice the bullshit that Jeffries spews. And I gotta
Yeah.
say, Stewart doesn't do enough to
No.
counteract
I.
that bullshit. It's really weird. It's like Stewart
Yeah.
usually stands up to mainstream neoliberal Democratic establishment figures, and he
Yeah. Let
didn't
alone
in this
Republicans.
interview. And like he did one with Jen Psaki that was enlightening, where you basically got the impression like, yeah, I wish I could have influenced the Biden administration to do more, but they
Hmm.
wouldn't listen to me. I was there to do a job, and that's basically turning over her cards and telling everybody why she left.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I thought she was a. I saw some clips from her thing, and I mean, she's one of the more kind of sort of more enlightened about uh, the stakes that we currently find ourselves in. I thought the White House secretary after her was just fucking dull as shit.
Yes.
Um, but but yeah, Ancient Gamer says I think he was trying to hold his hand and get him to give correct answers, but uh he still would not do it. Are we referring to? Oh, fucking yeah, the Hakeem Jeffries interview. Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. that should be like like a softball interview, but instead it's like I can only imagine because I haven't actually watched it. I can barely even fucking stand Hakeem Jeffries, insufferable to tolerate. But I can just imagine just the vague and empty cliches and
I
platitudes.
tell you what,
Had
some
nothing
Brooklyn.
behind
The
them.
door is wide open for a Brooklyn progressive right now.
Yeah,
If a
big
Brooklyn
time.
progressive who's like a labor leader or something,
Mhm.
right now could step up and primary the fuck out of Hakeem Jeffries. People are waking up. Who is this loser? He might look tough. He might look like a tough New Yorker, but he sure as shit doesn't talk like one. I know a lot of tough New Yorkers, smart, tough New Yorkers, and he ain't one of them. He is not one of them. He's like Richie Torres.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Do what they're
just pathetic. Yeah. We need more Bronx style Democrats, fucking like AOC types at the very least. Like her her response to the fucking the new borders are saying that she should be arrested. Fucking go fuck yourself sideways 12 ways to Sunday, dude. For crying out fucking loud. Like what kind of fucking like it's just another one of these fucking idiots. Another one of these morons that they're just putting there to fucking just serve Trump and give all these uh, um standing cliches and platitudes just to throw red meat to the fucking conservative base that watches Fox News 14 hours a day.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
so
are convinced
frustrating.
and are convinced that they did right by the nation and the youth of America is destroying it when the exact opposite is true.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, boomers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
much.
I got to tell you though, I am encouraged, and Tracy Ava is one of my favorites. I found her on Blue. Find her on Blue Sky. Find her on Blue Sky if you don't already. She's fantastic.
Hell yeah.
She's an enlightened boomer, and I want them along for the ride because the ones that I've been running into are all like, "Yeah, next generation. Our generation doesn't get it.
Yeah,
we don't get it. They're sons and daughters of the Cold War, man. They didn't grow up in the digital era. They didn't experience 9/11 in the same way that we did. It was childhood trauma for those of us who were, younger than 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't, some of them tried, but ultimately the greed won. And Reagan is, he's Gen X. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, well, excuse us, Tracy. Thank you for correcting us.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go. Furthering my point that a baby boomer progressive is even harder to come by than I originally thought. I thought I found one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. I mean, boomer and progressive go together like
oil and water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that absolutely checks out. Yeah. No, I mean, it's been so draining because like I've been spending too much fucking time on Facebook, and it's just littered with
Oh really? You're on Facebook still? I was thinking about deleting my Facebook.
Yeah, I'm only on there because like I have a lot of friends I still communicate with on there and whatnot, but it's just so riddled with political pages that I've followed over the years. Not to mention major outlets like I don't know why the fuck I even follow the Fox News page. I guess it's just to fucking torture myself and argue with all these just uninformed, unenlightened,
no. That's like
conservative boomers,
So that's like when you're in your locker room and you got a big game coming up and they're like the defending champions or whatever. Mm-hmm. You put a big picture of the team that you're about to play in the locker room so all the players can see it in the week leading up to the game. Mm-hmm. And then they all have like red pens that they can fuck with the people on there and color in their eyes and like knock out their teeth or whatever. And it just gets you like, I hate this motherfucker. I'm going to beat him. So I think actually watching Fox News is actually really important because you have to stay motivated. I mean, someone's got to step up and not just call Trump trash, white trash Nazis and Trump white trash Hitler, but call Fox News the white trash news network and called One America News Network the KKK network and call, what's the other one? Newsmax, the freaking, Proud Boys News Network. Yeah, I mean, enough. Like, go after the institutions. Don't stop. Take a flamethrower to conservative culture. There's nothing good about it.
Yeah.
The verdict is in, guys. The verdict has been in since 2008. And like an alcoholic relapsing, we came back to it in 2016. We thought we got out of it in 2020. And now we've relapsed again. Here we go. Got to hit rock bottom again. Matthew Perry went to rehab like 6 times. Now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, on one hand, it's like I kind of do it to myself. Like I don't have to follow these pages. There's this one particular group I'm in, full of like 55,000 people, and it's just constantly just the dumbest takes imaginable, just verbatim memes and talking points taken straight out of Fox News or Newsmax or
Because they can't
whatever.
think for themselves. Yeah.
No, none of them can. No, and I don't have to be in there yet. I choose to engage with it because it's just like, oh, well, I actually know about this better than you do.
Yeah.
But like, there, in some instances, like primarily when I go to the gym, Fox News is always playing on one of the 12 TVs that's up there on the wall. It's just like, while I mean, I go there to focus on either my music or like a show that I just set on the treadmill and like just play off my phone. I'll look up and they got CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and local channels and whatnot. And it's just like what they prioritize coverage of, like it obviously like differs drastically, but it's kind of just amazing how Fox News tends to exacerbate the negligible more than anybody else, and treat it as if it's just like this big grand thing, and like it's there's no honesty in that at all, and like so many fucking people fall for it. It's
Yes.
like they don't think big at all. It's so cheap.
The marketplace of ignorance, man. That's what our media environment has come to be. And a big reason why I would encourage everyone to go rabbit hole Google search the Telecom Act, the 1996 Telecom Act from Bill Clinton.
Yep. Yeah.
That was a big one. That was a big one. And then check out, to a lesser extent, Reagan's repeal of the Fairness Doctrine. But news was never meant to be this. News was never meant to be an entertainment product, just like religion was never meant to be an entertainment product. It's like, fine, you want to live in a free society where those kinds of things are allowed to happen? Okay, fine. Well, they're going to be taxed as such. I was talking about this with one of my progressive circles today, and we're all just like, yeah, tax megachurches. Why the hell is Joel Osteen flying around in a private jet? Yeah. Give me a goddamn break. That is a for-profit entertainment industry, and they should be treated as such.
It really is, yeah. Ancient Gamer says, instead of calling the billionaires, call them robber barons. Yeah, we are literally in the second Gilded Age right now.
Well, so I think there are. So I'm actually not. I'm not there yet in hating all billionaires. I do think like guys like Mark Cuban. He's not American, but Richard Branson. I think Tom Steyer's a really great guy. Right. These are successful people that recognize the system isn't fair, recognize that they were to a certain extent lucky. Yes, they worked hard, but there was a lot of luck involved.
Yes.
Especially people who are educated recognize that even just the network that you get plugged into by going to, say, Harvard Business School or Stanford Business School or whatever, it's almost worth more than the education itself. It's the network that really matters. So guys like that, women too, I just can't think of any right now, they actually recognize that someday they are going to be dead. And all that will be left of them, and I talk about reputation. My high school headmaster talked about reputation as your most valuable possession.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's true, because if you have kids, then your kids are probably worth more than your reputation. But let's say it's true. Doesn't matter. Your reputation when you die becomes your legacy. So what do you want your legacy to be? And a big reason why I think a lot of people don't want to engage in a rhetoric of revolution is because they recognize that most people see revolution as like at least 4, more like in this day and age, a 10 to 20 year conflict. And they're like, wait, I'm 40 now. So if I do this for the next 20 years, I'm going to be 60. when this is all over? And then I
Right.
what? Then I finally get to make some money. Like, what's going to be the you know, like, is it really worth it? And
Right.
there you go. We're
Yeah.
back to toughness. We're back to toughness.
Yeah.
Who wants it more? The contest for this nation is being waged right now, and we have to decide whether or not we're going to fight back. Or I'm running into people that are thinking about leaving the country, and I don't blame them.
Right. Of course. Of course. Yeah. I mean, even my roommates want to. I'm just like, for one of you doesn't even have a job. For two, you're working a part-time job and you don't speak any other languages. You don't, you don't even know, like, you have nothing set up. Like, it takes so much, honestly. It's a lot of effort to not only leave the country but also have the means to do so. You need a support network, if you're not already well off.
Right.
Um, and if I'm not mistaken, depending on what country you live in or country you move to, you're still technically an American citizen. Therefore, you're subject to the taxes, right?
Right.
Isn't that the
Depends.
case? Yeah.
You have to renounce your citizenship in certain circumstances.
Right. Right. Of
Toughness
course.
and courage. There you go, Tracy. That's right. Where are my competitors? Competitor is just another word for
Tough to
winner.
occur. Yeah.
A loser is a competitor who never learns from their losses well enough to win. It's
Yeah.
about learning, y'all. One thing I can do is fucking learn.
Yeah.
How are you? Let's shift over to a little bit of, maybe let our audience get to know us a little bit. So you were having kind of a tough time the other day and just being bombarded with all this news. We've decided to change our schedule to Tuesdays. We're just going to do once a week. And, oh, nice. Kyoto Zuma's back. Nice. What up,
Hey.
girl? Welcome back. Good to see you. So how are you now? You sound way better.
Do I?
Yeah.
I mean, not.
You got to
much
be
better.
dispassionate about this shit at some point.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
you got to be matter of fact about it. Otherwise you'll go insane.
No, of course. Yeah, and fortunately I have begun taking steps of just turning off and shutting shit out. Like, um my second Instagram page is up and running, and what I've been
Nice.
doing is basically unfollowing every like political related account and page on Instagram,
Yep.
and just putting those over on my other Instagram account instead. So that way, if I'm for my primary, like, personal Instagram account, I'm not bombarded with just 15 new fucking nightmares, and just like the shitty news of the day, like Trump's new executive orders and how fucking awful and stupid they are. And so, yeah, it's a process. Like, I'm still the process of it, because I didn't realize just how much political shit I followed on there, and it's just been pervasive for such a long goddamn time. I'd rather just put it all in one place where not all my followers on my personal account are subjected to it, and those who are interested can just go to that account instead.
Yeah, I think that's good for your mental health to have two
Oh, big
different
time.
Instagrams. And I think the reason why you and I are politically savvy people and just interested and passionate about politics is because the shit's important. Politics affects so many more people than any other institution in our society.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah, of
fourth
course.
estate media, that's an extension of the relationship between the government and the private sector. And the
Yeah.
private sector makes all the news normally, but not since Trump, man. Not
No.
since Trump. Really,
Yeah.
not in our lifetime. It's been different. Our lifetime, it's been a different kind of politics. It's been like, whoa, what the hell are we doing? Kind of politics for people
Yeah.
who take learning seriously.
No, for real. Um, God, what was I gonna say?
It's all good.
Yeah, no, just yeah, no, I lost it.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a really good. Oh, here we go. Tracy Eva just gets some love. I am watching Martin Luther King Jr. speech on YouTube every single day. When I start to feel the fear of fascism start to overwhelm me, then I get angry all over again, and the fear is pushed away. Yeah, well, Yoda says that fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, and he's not wrong, unless
Yeah.
you find someone else to do the suffering, right? Like
Hmm.
fear, anger is a manifestation of fear. Absolutely. Absolutely. But what are you going to do with it? Some people work out, some people meditate. I do both. I also talk to people who are politically savvy, communicate with them on a daily basis to cope.
Yeah.
But because I'm politically productive, because I'm trying to do something. Tracy, what you need are political leaders who say, give me your anger. Give it to me because I can do something with it. I can take your anger and turn it into productive political discourse,
Yeah.
political productivity. It matters. Jeffries should be banging the war drum saying, we are going to obstruct every single piece of legislation that comes out of this White House, and I'm going to criticize it till kingdom come every day. And that will pay dividends come a year from now when we start talking about midterms, because
Yeah.
the Republicans are smart, man. Never underestimate the political talent of the GOP. They know the schedule, and when you're
Yeah.
in a first-term presidency, and that's what this is. I mean, even though it is a second term for Trump, it still technically is a first-term presidency.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose power after your first midterms unless you are blessed with a crisis like W was with 9/11, or you are somehow the next coming of FDR. You're gonna lose power. It happened to Obama. It happened to Clinton. It happened to well, anyway. Actually, no, it didn't happen to Clinton. He was head in opposition Congress from the beginning. But
Right.
the point is that you always end up losing power if you come in as a super popular new president. So they know that these 18 months are everything for the next 10, 20 years. And they're
Yeah.
treated like such, man. They are
They
driving
are.
their agenda forward. They are
Hmm.
not apologizing. They're like, we don't care if, whoever the Democratic nominee probably will win in 2028. But by that point, things will be so bad and things will be so deconstructed that they're just
Yeah.
going to spend their entire administration rebuilding everything.
Yeah. Like there's it, so much damage is going to take multiple terms to even
It's going to take 40
undo
years
it. Yeah. Yeah.
to get to
Of
where
course.
to get this country where I think it should be, the you know fair, free society that we think of ourselves as. It's probably not going to be for another 20 years. It's probably going
Yeah.
to take 20 years to undo all this damage, starting with all the damage that started under Trump in 2016, but really getting rid of all of the ideology from 1980 having to do with conservatism. Conservatism has no intellectual value. There was a time
No.
within the context of the Cold War, before the global economy as we understand it today formed, there was a time when conservative politics made at least a little bit of sense. Yeah, let's beat those Ruskies. Let's show that we're the most powerful economy in the world. Let's, not just do it with our weapons, but let's show incredible growth. Problem
Yeah.
is, they deregulated and cut taxes too much, so there was no distribution of wealth.
Nope.
Like, the economy's like drinking from a hose. And, I mean, when these recoveries happen, and the people that have money make the most money. There's a
Yeah.
saying in business, your first million is your toughest million, or your toughest million is your first million. Well,
Yeah.
that's just another way of saying, in a societal context, it's a lot easier to make money once you have money. This is the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Having a
Yeah.
high income makes you rich, but living off of the returns makes you wealthy. Now, people who are listening probably don't even know what living off of the returns means.
Hmm.
Do you know what it means, Stat Pat?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it basically, if in a layman's terms, I guess your investments that you make at a young age, e- eventually it balloons into something that you'll be able to benefit from at for retirement, basically. Yeah.
That's saving for retirement. I'm talking about, like, if you have a diverse portfolio of stocks, a lot of those
Yes.
stocks pay dividends. You can
Yeah.
also sell some of them to make money if you play the market that way. A lot of people just buy and hold
Yeah.
until they're retired.
I
But
I, I, ju- I just now got my Fidelity account fixed because I guess I had the wrong social security number on it.
Oh,
So yeah, I don't even know what the hell that was about. I set it up on Christmas, and I was wondering why I wasn't able to link in my bank, and called them. They were like, "Oh, you had the wrong social security number on here." So I'll finally start to put money into a Roth IRA and buy some American Steel stock or something.
good for you. I mean, yeah, get invested, I guess, if you can. And I don't know, like that's why I knew a little bit about that
Hmm.
world because I was in corporate America for a year. I studied business in college, and I never understood the coins. Like Bitcoin made sense to me because you won an untraceable currency for international transactions. Like it was particularly relevant in sports gambling,
Hmm.
but I didn't understand why became more than one. Why were these? What were these other coins coming out of
Scams.
nowhere? And it's just like, what are you investing in? At least when
Yeah.
you're investing in a company, you can like see the quarterly reports, the annual reports. You can see if it's a McDonald's, then you just see that you see their freaking restaurants all around town. Like there are assets that have value, and so
Yeah.
you can have confidence that your 10,000 shares of McDonald's stock is actually worth something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. From what I understand, I guess Bitcoin is based on like bits that you mine, and like you process the way you process it is through really powerful GPUs and whatnot. I don't know like the specifics of it exactly, but that's why it's been like the biggest example when it comes to cryptocurrency. But a lot of these crypto coins and shit nowadays are literally just pump and dump schemes.
Yeah.
It's literally just rug pulling.
Yeah.
It's happened time and time and time and time and time
Because
again.
people are stupid.
Yeah, I mean, look no further than the Trump coin, like or the Melania coin. It's like something
This was
that
the big. God.
it's something that people just hype up as the next biggest best coin. The next big thing. So everybody invests all their fucking money into it, and it just happened to get Javier Milei, the president of Argentina, who's fucking turned that country into a dump. Hyped up a new crypto coin called Libra and tweeted about it and everything. Like Libra to the moon. I'm paraphrasing, but that kind of sentiment. Hype it up, get people to invest all their savings and shit into it, and then pull the rug out. So
Yeah.
only a few people benefit. Like I think this particular coin, this that Malay championed, ended up like cashing out $107 million. It's literally just like fooling people into thinking they're going to
There's
get
some.
like
Mhm.
this is a safe and worthwhile investment that's going to pay dividends, but it's just a fucking another scam. It's so wild. It's so crazy. Megan
Yeah.
says, "If I lived in Thailand, I can live off my returns." I hear it's like
Yeah.
super super
That's why
super
if
cheap
people
there.
do have investments, it's very tempting. It's
Yeah.
very tempting. Like I know some celebrities who have, homes all over the world.
Hmm.
They're just going to those other countries and waiting it out. Be like, yeah, I'll see you in 4 years when he's no longer president.
I don't blame him at all. God, I wish I can do that. Um, yeah, a lot of people aren't even really able to obtain passports properly.
Right.
Trans people in particular, they're being denied like outright, and those who are getting approved, they're no longer allowed to have the gender that they identify as
Right.
on their passport. It's fucking stupid. Like I
Let
saw
the
this video.
otherizing continue.
Yeah, there's this video of this trans man, obviously a man. You look at him and you're like, that's a man. That's a man. But he was forced to have female on his passport, and like there's just it's just cruelty for cruelty's sake. They're passing shit that like I said before to exacerbate the negligible. Like one of Trump's EOs, uh, it was a ban on trans athletes from competing in sports that aren't uh, uh, aligned with the gender that they were assigned at birth. Apparently, for schools like anything under college, and I guess that affected only like 12 athletes nationwide, like in total, like
Mhm.
only 12. Like it's insane. It's fucking like it's all a result of the propaganda that's just been relentless in the conservative
Yes.
media apparatus, especially
No,
on fucking
I was
Twitter.
talking with this, we've come up with a brilliant label for this. It's fascism's favorite formula. I'm trying to put a video together for it.
Hmm.
Scapegoat politics, man.
Yeah.
Your life doesn't suck because you suck. Your life sucks because of those black, brown, trans, immigrant, gay, whatever,
Yep.
different people who you don't know, but
Yeah.
they're up to no good.
Be
And
afraid.
they're tearing down American society, you fucking cowards.
Yeah. You
Kiltazuma says
fucking
definitely makes looking at
scare.
dual citizenship somewhere appealing. Yes, it sure does. I know
Hmm.
a guy who is from the UK, moved to Miami not too long ago. I told him once Trump won the election, I said, dude, go back. Get out while you can. Go to
Right.
the UK
Yeah.
and get back, do something there for 4 years and then come back.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially if you're gonna
but
be living
he's
in
not going to do
Florida.
that. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I'm sure. I hope you like Miami. Just don't go anywhere else in Florida. Maybe
Yeah.
Tampa.
Right. Right. Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. It's fucking scary times, and I mean, like it's easy to be fearful when you understand the scope and the gravity of what's going on in government. But Republican voters operate off of fear because of what they're fed through propaganda. Oh, you need to be afraid of this group or that demographic or uh, this idea or that person.
But most people
Like,
are afraid. Most people are driven by fear. That's the sad truth.
yeah,
Is that most people are. I talk about it in, I guess it was my second episode where I talk about my family and who I am and where I come from. Survivors versus explorers. Dieter dichotomy number 6. Right? Most people are
yeah,
survivors because they have to be. Most
mhm,
people are just trying to get through their goddamn day so they can get a paycheck so they can pay the water bill.
yeah,
And, the real gold mine politically or legislatively or just in terms of creativity being the answer to complexity, which I think it is,
mhm,
um, getting to consumer debt is really where I think you can win voters over with some sexy policy.
yeah,
And getting into not just consumer debt, but student loan debt, academic debt, and as well as medical debt. Now,
yes,
Trump, this is just straight up evil. Like, now your medical debt counts negatively towards your credit score, whereas that used to be prevented. I mean,
yeah,
what is the sense in that?
no, yeah,
What are you doing?
yeah, and rewarding the banks by like, more fees.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, just making
yeah,
everything is like your job just to like make everything worse. Like you literally are just going
yeah.
after anything good in this
No,
country.
that's literally it. And like
It's evil.
we have health insurance companies like openly stating now like we need to find more ways to make more profit. We're not. It's just like, are you, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. It's happening in multiple different industries as well. It's just like squeeze the consumer as much as you possibly can, um, strip away any potential reward of of the lower working class and shit. It's like it's gross. Like and like here's what's really fucking disgusting. There are like you everybody who works a working class job, a wage job, and just to get by is so close. Yeah, blame the poor for being poor. That's exactly it. So close to like just a paycheck or two away from becoming destitute. Homelessness went up like 18%, I think, last year alone, and that like this is half this like people are so close to being homeless as it is. If they're going to be have to be like if they're going to have to be paying for more in goods in general, and the cost of living keeps on going up, the risk of being homeless increases. And what are they doing right now? They're criminalizing homelessness. In a lot of states, this is already the case. This might even fucking happen federally. I think it might even be a federal thing. It might be an executive order that Trump signed, or if he hasn't signed one yet, he's probably going to. And
It's
then it's
funny.
like,
So, go ahead.
what do you do at that point? Like
Yeah, I don't know.
you have no fucking home.
You just have
Uh,
to file for bankruptcy. I mean, one thing that the next Democratic president could do is change bankruptcy law so it's easier to file for bankruptcy and it doesn't hurt you as much as it does. Because right now it's like 7 years or something like that before you can go into any debt, get any kind of debt after you file for bankruptcy. So they tout trickle down, but where there's a trickle down when it's just profits being hoarded. This is what I was talking about with investing, right? People say there's the working class, then there's like the lower class, which I guess is just called the poor, or like the low income. I don't know what the politically correct term would be for poor people, but there's lower class, working class, aka middle class, and then there is upper class. I would like to start calling the upper class the investing class because it kind of addresses this issue that if you cut taxes for one percenters, they're going to spend money and that money's going to trickle down throughout the rest of the economy. That's not what happens. When you cut taxes for one percenters, they don't spend more money, they invest
yeah.
more money. It's not the same thing. The companies that they invest in are the beneficiaries of their investment,
Yeah.
not the consumers, not the public. And
Yeah, and they're not going to be investing in like any startups or anything like that aren't already backed by a major conglomerate or corporation. They're just going to inflate the stock value of these safe legacy corporations to begin with. Like even corporations do that with their own stock, with stock buybacks.
Right.
Like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's just
Yeah, the thing is, it's nothing new.
no.
That's like if you actually went to school and you studied history,
Oh
then
yeah,
you know that this is the ingredients for economic implosion. Is
Yeah.
what's going on in the United States right now.
Oh,
It's
big
just
time.
people think that it's easy to stave off because of modern communication technology and keep people nice and ignorant.
Yeah,
You know,
and what's also frustrating is like fucking all people,
the
all the
working
people.
poor, the working poor. That's what we should call it, the
No,
working
yeah,
poor
yeah,
instead of
yeah.
lower class. Yeah, because
All,
lower class isn't specific enough.
of course, yeah. Um, I mean, to get Marxist about it, you just have the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. So,
Right.
um, all these people that are touting the work that Doge is doing, and it's like any criticism of them is just like, oh, I guess you're okay with waste, fraud, and abuse. It's like, no, that's not what I'm
Right.
fucking saying at all. It's like, for one, I mean, aside from the fact that Doge is just to serve, um, primary to serve Elon Musk and his venture goals and whatnot, if there's so much waste, fraud, and abuse, and all these, um, all the funding that goes into all these agencies is distributed back to consumers and Americans and whatnot, it won't fucking amount to much in comparison to what these agencies actually do for people. For one, and for two, if you're trying to cut costs and balance the budget, but ultimately your goal is to pass trillions of dollars in tax cuts, which is what they openly state is the plan, then there's no fucking point in Doge existing at all.
Right.
It's such a fucking lie. It's all such bullshit. But like they can't come out and say that, oh, like we need to pave the way for a giant tax cut for the 1% or extend the tax cuts that Trump passed in his first
Yeah.
year in office,
Yeah.
because that's not going to fly. That's not going to sell. But of course, what do the people that voted for fucking Trump like have to say about that anyway? Like they don't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck the first time because they just fucking they sweetened it all up, and they like they made the rhetorically they made it sound like it was all just a fucking great thing because you're gonna get a tax cut too, and
Right.
like and they weren't even fucking like they were temporary for anybody under the 1% to begin with. It's so fucking gross. I feel like we
Yeah,
just want
that's
to
true, Kyoto Zuma.
siphon what they can before everyone actually figures out what's going on. Yes, when they wake up one day and don't have the social security check, they'll wake up, whatever's equal. Completely agree. That's
Yeah, but
exactly how I've been looking at
it'll
it
be
as
too
well.
late by then. It'll be too
Yeah,
late by then. Even
yeah.
people who have like, even if you are one of those like libertarian types or whatever, who sees the government as just all fat and out of shape and slow and inefficient, okay? And that's not
Hmm.
true.
Yeah.
Just look at the military. You look at, if you're going to start at any point in our spending, you should start in the institution that has failed 3 audits in a row, and
No,
that
of
is
course.
the United States military.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
That's the item number one in discretionary spending is the
hmm,
United States military by a lot. So
right.
why are we not going after the inefficiencies there? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
military. Can't they do it better? Right? Come on.
Yeah. Right. Right. And that's the other thing too. It's like, yeah, we want an efficient military, but and we want efficient departments, but it's also important to have resilient departments. Like, maybe there's so much bulk in funding for these departments and whatnot, so they're not vulnerable. So that,
Right.
like, there's a reason why the public sector is so protected, and has been historically. And like, you can always trim fat, but having a resilient departments, I think, is more important than having efficient departments, because you want these entities to be able to resist being stripped away for private investment.
I
And
think it's just I think it's just I think it's simpler like what you're going where you're going now.
uh-huh.
I think it's would do you think it's appropriate that the government or the private sector take care of it? For example, offshore
Yeah.
wind. Offshore wind, okay? Offshore wind is kind of a big issue out here and I
Hmm.
did a documentary film about it, yada yada yada, okay?
Hmm.
There is no reason for a private company to own and operate an offshore wind energy facility in the United States.
Yeah.
If you want to hire a private company to build it for you, that's
Yeah.
another story
Of
because they
course.
probably own the technology, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Private sector R&D and tech makes sense, or it does. It's produced a lot of good, but to have that company own and operate and continue to make money off of that energy facility is not in the best interests of the ratepayers.
Yeah.
I know about this thing. So
Yeah. It's like
there, sh-
PG&E.
yeah. So
Like, this should
Kiltazuma
be
says there shouldn't be monopolies in energy. There shouldn't be
completely agree.
ownership of
Monopolies in
energy.
general.
There shouldn't be
Yeah.
the private sector in energy at all
Yes.
or anything.
Yeah.
But there's monopolies everywhere now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No, of
actually more
course.
it's actually more oligopolies. Yeah, big
Yes.
ag. Yeah, Kiltazuma, you're doing your homework, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely
Yeah, big
correct.
ag. Yeah, we talk a lot about breaking stuff up, like the consolidation of power, the consolidation of corporations. That's the narrative of the structures of American society since 1980. It's about consolidation. It's about everybody getting bigger by way of acquisition or merger.
Yeah.
And
It shouldn't even be the case where, like, say, if you do want to, like, hire a private company to build these offshore wind farms or whatever infrastructure project it is, you don't want that private company have to have exclusivity in
right,
infrastructure projects. You do
right,
want to diversify, but that's the case. What's starting to be the case right now. It's not so much that, these companies are the biggest and best. It's because they're getting the most favors. They're
right.
getting the most government contracts and
Oh,
subsidies. It's
government contracts.
favoritism.
I know a
Yeah.
guy who's a civil engineer, and he's like, yeah, my father started this business, and was able to make it part of the club, right? Like they got a membership card into the inner circle of government contracts so that
Oh,
the business could grow. And now his son is running it, my buddy, but he's like, there's no way I could have done that. There's no way, like, to start my own civil engineering firm and get to this level in this amount of time.
no,
No way. I could
no.
never have done it. He had to do it first.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a gross relationship between the public and private sector and the favoritism and
Yeah.
all that
And the
shit.
easiest
Yeah,
one to go after is the military industrial complex with like
yeah,
General Dynamics, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman,
yeah.
the list goes
Lockheed
on.
Martin. Yeah,
Lockheed Martin. Like,
yeah.
I know some guy who was like out the day after the election, he's like, "Oh man, my defense stocks just skyrocketed after Trump won the election." It's like, "Oh, Jesus."
Gross.
Yeah,
Disgusting.
gross. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
gross.
mean, I don't I intend to invest in stocks and whatnot, but I would never fucking touch any of that shit, no matter how much money or dividends it would pay in the fucking end. I mean, ultimately, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism to begin with. Um, but God, what else was I going to say?
Yeah, there's just
Um,
irresponsible, like endless consumption. There's that phrase in business where grow or die, right? You have to keep
no,
growing.
yeah,
You can't
yeah,
just get to it. You can't just flatten out. You have to keep growing. It's like why? Why can't you just own one market and like you're the beef guy
yeah,
in Georgia? Like why can't there be a beef guy in every state or I don't know,
sure,
five guys in every state? Is probably the most fair to do it. Like,
yeah,
there should be more competition, but I think capitalism's had its day, man. Like
yeah. It's
capitalism
over.
as a term, like the verdict is in. It's not just a failure here; it's a failure in a lot of different countries.
Hmm.
The countries that have adapted the country with the happiest people is Denmark, and
Hmm.
they adapted their society to fit the needs of their people.
Yeah, yeah,
And their society makes a lot of sense. They take their society seriously. Now
big
they
time.
don't have the legacy of being the winner of World War II and then fighting the Ruskies and having to be the geopolitical hegemon in the entire world. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, which is slowly eroding away under Trump now. I was talking about before he got on, like now there's talks of a potential European Union army. Um,
Great.
I think Zelensky brought it up, and the fact that it wasn't shut down immediately by any European leaders shows that they're probably considering the possibility of that because
Oh yeah.
they understand you can't trust the United States.
No.
You can't rely on Trump. You
No.
can't like we've betrayed our fucking allies.
I think we've
We're eroding alliances as we speak.
I think we've directly impacted people's mental health abroad to people who pay
Oh, big
attention
time.
to geopolitics, who
Yeah.
actually pay attention to what's going on. We talked about it a year ago when we started the show. We cause chronic anxiety across the globe every 4 years with our presidential elections now. We
Yeah.
thought we were out of the woods with W. We were like, okay, we got Obama. Like, let's see what we can do here. We're never going back to the GOP because W was so bad. And we got
Yep.
Trump. We
Yep.
got Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Tracy Eva says that the
You want-
European Union Army will happen and the UK will join it too.
No, of course they will. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
To fight what war? To fight the Ruskies? Like to fight,
in
what?
case because the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Russia met at like this conference to discuss the end of the Ukraine war, and who wasn't there? Ukraine
You,
officials.
right?
Yeah.
Yo, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about that. They were left out of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they also Ukraine rejected the deal that Trump wanted to push through. Is like, yeah, we'll help you out, but we want a big share of your earth minerals that you have in the country. Um, and I mean, like, it's I don't know the details of the deal, but I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see how it turns out. But
So Tracy
that it,
Evan knows it. Yeah, the European Union, they're using this. They think that Russia's invading just like they did in the
yeah,
Cold War.
yeah, and now because China exercises soft power globally in, I mean, arguably brilliantly. They already have their hands in a lot of areas in
Africa.
Africa and
Yep.
starting to dabble in the Middle East as well. Europe's going to start looking to them for
Yeah.
a bit more, I guess, something to lean against. More deals perhaps. Um, but we'll see because China's emboldened by Trump as well. Like we even watched the who was it the guy who has a brother. He was on MSNBC. Oh my God.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, Rahm Emanuel. He talked about the Indo-Pacific partnerships that we've had with these countries start to disintegrate as well, and China's going to start making moves and start to have a lot more
Yeah.
influence in the region there too. It's just like America is fucking shrinking. We're
Do
falling the
you
fuck apart.
do you know where all this Chinese growth happened? This kind of reorganization of their society into one that is kicking ass now. Do you know where it all started? The de-evaluation in the 1980s. They devalued their currency so that everybody, at the emergence of the global economy, when after NAFTA was passed, or it was
Mm,
before NAFTA was passed, they devalued their currency so that they could become the world's factory.
that's yeah,
Why build your computers in your own country when you can build them in China for a fifth of the price? I mean, just simple.
yep.
I
I've
can't
yeah,
believe people who had parents, grandparents fighting World War II are now saying Putin's not the bad choice, that the UN, NATO are. It's incomprehensible.
yeah,
It's not, Kiltazuma, because we haven't evolved as a society. We've stayed stuck in the same place, like a
right,
child. That's like that's the legacy of the baby boomer generation abroad and domestically, is
yeah,
that they didn't grow up. They never said, "Wait a second, we're going to be dead someday. We're responsible for leaving behind a system that works for the majority of people, not for everybody, because that's impossible." But they didn't do
yeah,
that. They went in it for themselves, and they've been in it for themselves from the beginning.
right,
It's as though
yeah,
they forgot about the Cold War. Yeah, I mean,
right.
the
I
I
think
mean, yeah, God,
that what you just mentioned about China is
yeah,
starting to make me think. I think that's what the U.S. is trying to do. I think they want to devalue the dollar so that way more manufacturing is done here in the United States rather than anywhere else. Because
right,
they saw what China did and it's like, oh, I want to do that here. So fucking make the population more poor, and so they have to work shittier jobs, and the immigrants are going to take them because we're deporting all of them, and we become a bit more like China in that regard, a heavily surveilled state that with really cheap labor. And I mean, at least China, like the living conditions there are actually apparently like pretty decent, no matter what like class of people you are. Of course, it depends on the region as well, but that's very likely not going to be the case with the United States.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why they forgot about the Cold War, Kiltazuma, is because of our education system, and we didn't
Oh
teach
yeah.
people about. That's why I really feel like you should come out of high school knowing 1980 to the present day cold. If everybody just knew the timeline of 1980 to the present day, man, would our country be able to shed some fucking baggage like
Yeah.
Reaganomics and cutting taxes for the wealthy and these ridiculous tax rates. Like, go ahead and take a look at the tax rates under Eisenhower, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's what they used to be. That was a real system. That was the last good Republican president, and
Yes.
it was he was
Back
the
when
he
we were a
was
real country.
yeah. Well, we still had the nationalism. Like, we never thought we had it so good underneath the context of the Cold War. It kept our politicians working together.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't necessarily even a good system, but it was a functional system.
Hmm.
I was a product of No Child Left Behind. I'm not proud of how little I knew, but I've tried to learn as I've gotten older. Well, hey, you have a resource now with the internet where you can actually self-education, and I wouldn't call it education. I'd call it like self-informedness, because education has to do with not just reading and acquiring information. It has to do with discourse with your fellow classmates and learning
Hmm.
from them, as well as learning from the professors and learning from the text. It's a three-way street in education. You got the text, you got the professor, and then you got your classmates.
Yeah.
And that's actually the most appealing part about these big brand name academic institutions. It's not necessarily it's not the texts, because everybody has access to the texts that they're using for their classes.
Yeah.
It's the professors to a certain extent, but when you're talking about, like, I went to Vanderbilt, when you're talking about the difference between Vanderbilt and Harvard, like, the professors are pretty close to the same. Like, those are competitive spaces. Those are all very competent professors if you're teaching at one of those schools. The real difference between Vanderbilt and a place like Harvard is that, like Vanderbilt, you got mostly smart kids. At Harvard, everybody's smart, right? Stanford, everybody's smart.
Yeah.
Like everybody. I mean, I really should say, be specific and say who are non-athletes,
Hmm.
because a lot of people who are at Stanford and Harvard and all those other fancy schools, if they're playing sports, that's probably how they got in. Tracy
Yeah.
Eva, I grew up during the
Yeah.
Cold War. My childhood and early adulthood was spent imagining that the USSR would be dropping a nuclear bomb any minute. You can imagine my relief when the Berlin Wall came down. It was my earliest
Hmm.
news memory. My earliest news memory was the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Hmm.
I didn't go to college outside of getting a mechanics degree while in high school. Hey, well, you're already more educated than most people just by the way you're talking about things, Kiltazuma.
No
But you know,
kidding. Yeah.
seek out relationships with other people who are passionate about these issues because you will learn from them. For example, what you're witnessing right here, Stat Pat and I always bring a lot of knowledge to these conversations, and I always feel like I learned something from you, Stat Pat. So it's important to cultivate relationships based on productive communication with others, but don't
There you
respect
go.
everybody. If you find out
Yeah.
someone's MAGA, like stop respecting them that instant. That's
Yeah.
the there's that saying in the sports culture in UK, it's the hope that kills you. Well, in American politics, it's the respect that kills you. Do you respect an overgrown child throwing a hissy fit? No, of course not. Of course not. As soon as you respect that child, oh, calm down, please. Can you please just listen, honey? Listen, if you take a deep breath. He's all freaking out, freaking out, freaking out. No, they're not. You can't reason with them. Go sit
Yeah.
in your room. Go sit in your room, and when you're ready to act like an adult, then we can talk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're glad to
We
have you,
appreciate it.
Kiltazuma.
We
We're
really
glad
do
to have you.
appreciate it.
Please
Yeah.
like, share, and subscribe, everybody, if you're not already.
Yeah.
I've got some big news coming down the pipe a couple months from now, that I can't share at this moment because I don't know if it's real yet, but it's going to be exciting. Oh, and I am going to be on the Vanguard on Thursday at 11:45 Pacific. That's 2:45 Eastern. So come
Y-
check me out on the Vanguard with Gavin. Zach is traveling, so I'm gonna kind of substitute as a co-host for Zach for an episode. So that'll be pretty cool.
That's really cool. When is that again?
Thursday at 11:45, I believe, Pacific.
That fucking I will tune in. That's
Yeah.
fucking cool as shit. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was there for a pre-Super Bowl episode too. They brought me in, but Russia now looks like they are rebuilding the USSR empire, but China remains a puzzle to me. Do they even want to be an empire or just work with the BRICS? Okay, great question, Tracy.
Hmm.
Great question, and you nailed it. With Vladimir Putin has a dream of reuniting the Soviet Union, of
Yeah.
resurrecting the Soviet Union. He is brilliant, but not complicated. And then with respect to China, I have tremendous respect for the intelligence of the Chinese government. I
Hmm.
really do. I think they played the long game. I think they are more prepared than everybody else for catastrophes. They have a self-sustaining economy if they need to have a self-sustaining economy, but otherwise they are the world's factory, not just America's factory. So I think they're willing to work with the BRICS as long as the BRICS recognize that China's number 1 in the BRICS, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do, Tracy Abbott. Check out my old essays. Specifically, what is a WASP? Why should you care? Who is Dieter Business? Why should you care? The right wing magic trick, how American exceptionalism became American narcissism, as well as the self serving superficiality of conservative capitalist cognition. That's a big one. That's a long one. But my Dieter decrees and my Dieter trichotomies and dichotomies um, are all an accumulation of knowledge and insight that I'm hoping to leverage into real influence, not just talking to 4 or 5 viewers on Tuesday nights and with StatPat,
Yeah.
but really having an impact on electoral politics because I still have hope. You know, we were on Generational Change, or we had Generational Change on here with Jen and Pete back in December, and we were respectful. And you know, that interview really challenged me. Do I still have hope for the Democratic Party? And the answer is I still do, because I think with the right leadership, that institution can be used for good. It's the only established power that can be a counterweight to the GOP. which has become an instrument of evil. I
Unfortunately.
mean, I was on social media. I commented on this thing. I'm not going to get into the details. It's too long to explain. But long story short, I was going back and forth with some people, some conservatives, some MAGA trash, Bible beating MAGA trash, who were on Instagram. And, you know, first of all, they wouldn't acknowledge the difference between liberal and progressive. They didn't know what neoliberalism was. No surprise there. So like, that's why I always try to redirect. That's the dichotomy I'm emphasizing more than anything else these days is what's the difference between neoliberal and progressive. And if you don't know the difference, then shut up and listen because those are the intellectual lines upon which the next generation of American politicians will be defined. But similarly, that all he cares about is the cruelty. These MAGA trash Bible beaters. They're like, it is so great to see you liberal losers just cry and cry and cry. And it's like, well, first of all, I'm not liberal. I'm progressive. There's a difference.
Oh, I say that
And
all the
secondly,
time, dude.
and then secondly, it's like, yeah, so that's it. That's what it's about, isn't it? Whatever hurts the enemy makes me feel good. Watching someone hurt makes me feel good because now I'm not the one who's hurting the most in the room.
Right.
That's what makes me happy. I'm telling you, someone's got to go after an organized religion, like divide and conquer. Divide the good Christians, the hippie Christians, and the black Christians, and the brown Christians from the MAGA trash Christians. Enough. I want righteous, black, brown, progressive, whatever Christians, hippie Christians, give me the good ones, talking shit about Joel Osteen. That's when I know I've made a difference, is when I see someone in the Christian community step up and talk shit about Joel Osteen. That's when I know that I'm winning. That's when I'm starting to have a chance at winning. Gilta Zuma says, the fact that they think their fellow countrymen are their own enemies is gross. Yes, Tracy, thank you for agreeing with me. I can't hear that enough. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, and by the way, Tracy, when you do go back and watch those essays, know that I made them a few years ago in most cases. So it turns out I was right about everything. And the reason it's not because I'm so brilliant. It's because I just have been socially conditioned to comprehend conservatism. I started there. I was indoctrinated with conservative ideology, and then I transcended that ignorance through education and life experience, not least of which was travel experience. Most Americans don't travel.
Yeah.
Most Americans don't travel, or if they do, it's somewhere else in the United States. They go to Disneyland or they go to Disney World, and that's what they do. They don't get on a plane and go to Western Europe or South America or even Canada or Mexico or, whatever. God forbid, Asia. Like, I mean, there's a lot. And my travel experience is very light. I know people who've traveled to all continents and Antarctica and all that shit. And Americans just don't do it. They don't do it.
Yeah.
It's like something like 25%. I think 25% of Americans have a passport, and only half of those use it to travel outside the North America.
Yeah. I think it's such a humbling experience. Yet people
thank you, Tracy.
a lot of people a lot of people really don't have like the wherewithal, the foresight to even consider, seeing different cultures going outside the country and whatnot, let alone just leaving their fucking house. They just want to rot on their couch all day, fucking shirtless and like
losers.
Eating crap and just watching Fox News 14 hours a day.
I said in my essays, man.
I've come across people like that on my job, like people who literally live like that. Just like, dude, you're so pathetic. Why are you doing? Yeah, no,
they're losers who want to feel like winners without doing any of the work, without taking any of the risk.
Yeah,
they're losers.
Exactly.
They're the real losers. They just, like, I got my gun. I got my gun. I can fucking kill you. I got the fucking gun. It's like, that's their MO, dude, is having power over others.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, here, she says something here. They think that I'm strange because I don't agree with their talking points, but don't stand there and argue either. I just eke out an existence. I got to tell you, for mental health purposes, that is the best way to do it. If you're going to engage MAGA trash, the only way to do it productively or potentially productively is to just ask them questions and keep them talking, because they're not interested in your views. They're interested in reasserting their own views and convincing themselves that they're just as smart as you, when deep down they know they're not.
Yeah, it's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, arguing just brings contention and aggression to the forefront.
Of
Yeah, and
course.
and that's the thing, Kiltazuma, is my advocacy is the politicians are the ones who should be doing that fighting for you.
Yeah, yeah,
So gun toting and fear mongering. I know. I feel for you, Kiltazuma. I really do. I
yeah,
feel for you.
yeah.
I feel for you. Find a
I
community online. Find a community online.
That's probably
Start a
like
channel. Start a channel. A rural progressive. That the rural progressive. That would hosted by a woman. That
that
would
that
fucking
would
catch on.
sell.
I do. I'll collab with you.
Yeah, and just talking about anything, honestly.
Lazy boy losers. Yep, that's right, Tracy Eva.
Lazy boys. So a frustrating aspect about getting out and you know just do whatever activities, depending on the region you're in, depending on the town you live in and whatnot. It could be frustrating because, speaking from my experience, just getting out to escape the brain fog, the monotony, just um, uh, how overwhelming everything is. Um, I'm reminded of recently, when I went to the gym. It just goes to show just how impactful like the news has been and what's been happening has been lately. Because I go to the gym. I usually have my little earphones in. I got a pair of Skull Candy earbuds, and either I'm watching shows or listening to music. After I work on the treadmill, I go into the dry sauna just to work
Nice.
up a
Sounds
sweat.
nice.
It's nice. I like it. I really like it.
Leads to
And
better
but
sleep.
yeah, it really does. And I'm out like a light. Like
It's
it
awesome.
takes
Oh,
no effort.
it's the
And
best.
apparently I snore really bad too. Like I have a bad snoring problem. But what like recently when I went there after a workout, some dude was just talking it up to a couple other guys in there about how fucking corrupt Elon Musk is and how like bad Doge is for this whatever. I was vaguely listening to because I had my earbuds because I just didn't want to engage in that at all because like I hear politically relevant topics and my ears perk up. It's just like, oh, I actually might actually
Yep.
be able to
Learn
give
something.
him my
Learn something. Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
give my input about it. It's just like, but I just don't want to like extend that kind of energy in that kind of environment, which is like a frustrating experience. And even just this weekend, when I went to that convention that I called you before I went to, I ended up going to the like this barbecue place, this bar, um, not too far from there, and we were just talking about Joel Osteen. I overheard like because I was just in there just like have some grub and drink some wine, watch Daytona 500, even though it was delayed due to rain, and just a few seats down from me at the bar, some dude talking about like how it's fucked up that Joel Osteen is just this mega millionaire
Yeah.
and like churches aren't taxed and he can just
Yep.
basically do whatever he wants because he has so much money and shit. It's just like I am here to enjoy myself, not get locked into a conversation, and I didn't. I just like phased it out, focused on the game, probably put a couple songs on the jukebox, and had my wine. Which actually, I got
I
a
know
free.
wine's the way to go. Nice.
It really is. I got a free bottle of wine. I guess one of
As
the
you get older, you're gonna get away from beer and into wine. It's great.
that's been me a hell of a lot lately, like
Yeah.
especially this past few years. Like because I used to be really big into IPAs,
Yeah,
like crazy
I
big.
never went down. Yeah, serious
No,
beer drink. You're not a serious beer drinker unless you love IPAs. So
yeah,
I was never a
I
serious
was.
beer drinker.
I tried very many IPAs. There was this brown ale that was a limited run by Belching Beaver called Good Morning Beautiful. It was Deftones themed, and they're one of my favorite bands. They had a few different deals with them, different beers that they made. It was a brown ale that was really good. But yeah, no, I don't really do beer much nowadays. But I got this bottle here for free because I guess it was just sitting near the cashier's register and whatnot, and it was never. I guess it was just an extra they had, and some guy came up and the bartender asked like, uh, "You want this wine? Let's drink it or crack it." I guess they knew each other, whatever. And he was like, "Nah, I'm not a wine person." And I'm like, I'll take it. I'll drink
Yeah,
some wine with you." And like, and she just gave it for me to be for free. She's like,
that's
"Shit,
awesome.
free shit is awesome."
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wine's where it's at, man. It's good. It's not bad. It's not nearly as bad for you as any other kind of alcohol. It's actually kind of like good for your
Right.
digestive tract and stuff. It
No.
helps you
Yeah.
helps you sleep. You don't get as hungover because there's not as much sugar in it.
Yeah. I actually love going wine tasting, and where I
Yeah, it's
am,
great.
it's wine country. So there's like friggin', you know, within a 25-mile radius, like maybe 50 different wineries. Honestly, it's nice.
That's sweet. That's sweet. Do you? We're
Yeah.
at an hour and 10. I'm good. Like, do you want to
Mhm.
cover anything else, or is there anything else on your mind? Because I'm kind of wiped. It's been a little bit of a long day. I don't want to cut it
Yeah.
short, but at the same
Countless.
time, I don't want to just rack up minutes for
No,
minutes'
right.
sake. You know.
There, I mean, countless things, obviously, just because it's just how just frequent the news cycle is,
Yeah.
but nothing I really want to devote any energy to right now, or else I'm just going to get frustrated and pissed.
Yep.
And I mean, that's going to be a recurring theme, obviously, with his administration. But it's just like I don't know. I think a good uh, idea would be maybe next week we could probably go over like certain historical topics that I think would be I guess fruitful for our audience
You know what I'm
to
gonna do?
learn
You know
about.
what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rabbit hole research. I'm
Hmm.
gonna get back into my notes for the civil rights movement,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna get back into 1930s Germany, and I'm just gonna rabbit because
Yeah.
I like to rabbit hole research things at least once a week.
Yeah.
So I'll get into those two things, and
Those
because
just a couple.
the historical parallels are pretty amazing for what's happening and what
Hmm.
needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple things I had in mind was
Yes, yeah, I
yes.
saw that.
Yeah. I fucking
No,
yeah.
it's very similar to Nixon saying that it's not illegal if the president does it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's just testing the waters. It's so fucking scary and frustrating. And of course, like he also signed an executive order firing the firing Biden era attorneys general. You know,
Yeah.
inspector generals. I think that might be one or the other. But either way, it's like yeah, like no, like he just want accountability. I don't even know if he can legally do that, but what the fuck do we know? He's immune from fucking like all crimes if it's the official act, which it was.
Right.
But yeah, a couple of topics I was thinking about, aside from how similar right now is to the McCarthy era and what Truman did with um, signing, I guess it was legislation requiring a loyalty test for federal workers or something like
No,
that.
the House of
Um,
Un-American Activities, that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
which really kicked off the McCarthy era post World War II. That's not too dissimilar from what's going on right now in Trump's administration and the federal government and the federal workers right now, especially the White House. A lot of people in interns and whatnot being um, told to give loyalty to Trump above anything
Right.
else. But a couple other things would be um, diving deep into the Telecoms Act
Yep.
and what was that?
Always.
The fairness
Yep.
doctrine
Fairness
under Reagan.
doctrine. Yep.
Yeah, I think those would be a couple of great things to
Yeah.
do a deep dive in as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. We should. We should totally do that.
Oh yeah,
The only way to get him for crimes now, talking about Trump, will have to be after these 4 years, unless he grants himself
hopefully.
immunity somehow. Okay. So here's how the mental health trickery do here
Hmm.
for this one. Okay. Managing expectations is the key to happiness.
Yeah, I've
We're never gonna be rid of Trump until he's dead.
hmm
That's the individual. We're
yeah,
never gonna be rid of Trumpism until baby boomer conservatives are dead, because
yeah,
Trumpism is nothing more, legislatively and culturally speaking, as the devolution of Reaganism into Trumpinism.
hmm yeah,
If not, then get fired. Yeah, whatever.
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this was fun. Good job. And I guess, do you have any final remarks, or I'm ready to wrap up mine. You can keep going if you want. I don't mean to stop you.
Oh no, I mean, I'm pretty much spent, honestly.
I
I'm
don't
just
think he'll
hoping
be
that,
held accountable or reasonably charged and experience accepted punishment. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even if he somehow miraculously gets voted out in 2028 and doesn't stay in, like
He
just
won't stay in. I don't think he'll run for re-election. He's going to be too old.
well,
He doesn't want to run again. He doesn't
well,
want to do it again.
maybe, but
He's made his point. He beat Biden. He beat the guy. Well, he beat Kamala, but
yeah,
effectively he won. You know what I mean? Like he got back in the
yeah,
winner's circle. Like
and like even if he does leave, he's immune anyway. Like he
right.
can't be held accountable for fucking anything that he did during his 2 terms as president. Uh,
Solidarity with you, my British Tracy. That is fantastic.
thank you for tuning in. Megan says, "What's that one meme? There's no way Trump will wriggle himself out of this one.
So the only
Trump
thing I'm
usually
really,
escapes with no
I'm not even worried
consequences."
about I'm not even worried about a Trump third term. What I'm actually
Yeah.
worried about more than anything else is them fucking with election laws
Yes, which is already
fucking up,
happening.
and fucking up the midterms and fucking up the integrity of the presidency, and
Yeah.
then it's real chaos because then it's like
Yes.
what.
Yes.
So it's just always going to be a Republican president. It's always going to be a Republican Congress. It's always going to be a Republican Senate. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing that scares me the most.
Right,
Is the election laws.
and they keep on, like, on one hand they're saying this is to protect democracy, and in another breath they're saying, oh well, democracy is overrated and shit. It's yeah. There's no consistency from the Republican minded folks, like whatsoever. Like Trump has genuinely broken everybody's brain. Um,
All right.
yeah.
Well, for StatPat Stateless Patriot, I am Dieter McBusiness. This is Left Coast Live. Thank you for watching, and we will always finish our broadcast reminding you that you don't get change in America by asking nicely. Tell
Everybody,
that to your local Democratic Party representatives, please.
please, for the love of Christ, everybody have a good night and enjoy the rest of your week.
All right, y'all. See you later.